Hey everybody, welcome to my office. This is where the magic happens. Unfortunately ran out a little bit of time to be able to do the video for you for the new 2020 Honda Africa Twin. Now, we got to spend a couple of days on these ones. Normally we have to turn them around relatively quickly, but this time we got to spend a little bit more time. I got to take a DCT version home with me for 3 days, which was really cool. Gave me a bit of I suppose, a different perspective on how these things work. So new for 2020, these things are basically the first proper redesign, I guess you could say, of the Africa Twin since it came out back in 2016. Now, 2018 we got the Adventure Sports, which is the more road touring version, and this year for 2020, Honda has really tried to properly differentiate the two bikes. So now the Adventure Sports goes up against something like the GS 1250 Adventure from BMW, KTM 1290 Adventure, for example, whereas the Africa Twin base model now is more aimed at proper real adventure riders, shall we say. So the base model comes with a 5-gallon gas tank. You get new rally style adventure bodywork, a stumpy screen that's not adjustable. You also get nice little skinny handguards, and a big thing for the adventure riders, for the real adventure riders this year, is you're going to be getting tubed spoked wheels as well. So it's going to mean you can fix your flats hopefully in the middle of nowhere, if that's where you're going to go riding. The Adventure Sports gets that 6.5-gallon gas tank, so you get a bit more fuel range out of it. You also get the new Showa, or the revised Showa electronic suspension settings. You get new bodywork. You get an adjustable screen on this one, so there's a couple of handles on the side and you can raise up and down the screen. You also get tubeless spoked wheels on the Adventure Sports, so more in line with standard road tyres, for example. You get a larger skid plate. You get luggage options. You get a rear rack as well. You get a lower seat height in comparison to the 2019 Adventure Sports. You also get heated grips as standard, and you get a 12-volt accessory charger. Both bikes come with the new 6.5-inch TFT display that runs Apple CarPlay. You get cruise control, and you get everything from traction control, engine brake control, wheelie control, electronic suspension control. You also get a G-switch, which is designed so that basically it engages the clutch quicker. This is on the DCT model, so it engages the clutch quicker. Think of it as though you had, on your traditional clutch, you had like a short and a long lever pull. It's almost like that. So it engages the clutch quicker and means you get, basically you'll feel it at the twist grip. You're going to feel quicker acceleration, almost like another throttle map in a way. So each bike gets the new 1084cc parallel twin, up 6mm in the stroke in comparison to the old one in the 998cc model, which that came out 2016, 17, 18 and 19. Had a few little changes, but effectively it's the same motor. As a result, you get new pistons, cams, crank, the whole works. Gearbox has been sort of revised, strengthened on the manual one, and you get revised settings on the DCT as well. Both bikes you get a new frame, beefier steering head. You also get a new swing arm and a detachable subframe as well now, which both the swing arm and the subframe were modelled on the CRF1100L motocross bike. Now both bikes are a lot slimmer as well. They're about 40mm slimmer at the seat in comparison to the old ones. So you feel that a little bit as you're riding. It does feel a little bit more compact overall. But yeah, for me, the big thing was I got to spend a decent amount of time on the DCT off-road. First time I've ever ridden a DCT off-road, I got to say. Used it on the Gullwing, and on that, total money. Great thing. I'd never go back to a manual gearbox after riding on the Gullwing, let me tell you. On the off-road version, not that convinced, got to say. The operation off-road isn't as direct, it isn't as predictable as I would like. That's probably the biggest problem that I find with it, is that it changes gear for me at the wrong time. You get 3 settings. You get your drive mode, your sport mode, which allows you to, so drive mode, you'll just go from first to 6th gear super quick. Like you'll take off from the lights and before you know it, you're in 6th gear. Sport mode allows you to at least hold the gears a bit longer and allows you to rev it out a bit more. So then, it's a bit better for off-road performance, shall we say. But I found off-road, it really wasn't as predictable. It didn't shift at the right points for me. It also freewheeled occasionally when I would come over crests and to use the rear brake to settle the rear suspension. Sometimes it would freewheel. Did that more than once, which was not real good because you lost all your engine braking, which not ideal off-road. One of the other things is the electronics. There's so many electronics with this bike, and this is just like the BMW, the KTM. They're all got too many electronics in my view for adventure riding. However, if you go up a hill, I made this mistake. Went up the hill, turned all the traction control off, went up the hill, and the bike just went and just stopped. I was like, what the hell? I thought I turned everything off. And it turns out that the wheelie control still stops the bike from going, even though the thing wasn't wheeling. So the rear wheel was spinning as I was wanting it to, so that I could get over some of these things and kind of maneuver the thing around a bit. But when the rear wheel was spinning and the wheelie control was on, the bike thought it was wheeling when it wasn't. So it just killed the power. So if you're going to go riding these things, you really need to switch everything off for you to be able to get up some rutted hills and crappy off-road situations. If you're just light cruising on dirt roads, you'll probably be okay. But for me, they've just got too many electronics now. These are not the kind. The Africa Twin has gone from a bike, in my view at least, it's gone from a bike that I would go to Africa on, for sure. I probably still would, look, if I'm honest. However, they are much more complicated than what they were. And that I feel is a bit of a detriment. It's not entirely Honda's fault because they had to do it. Like all the main guys like BMW, KTM, they're all doing it. Yamaha, thankfully, has gone the other way with their T7 with basically no electronics, which is great. But I feel like the Africa Twin has almost got a little bit too smart for its own good. I feel they need to maybe back off a bit of that. You don't need all that choice. It's always that more mentality, whereas sometimes more is too much. So when I was off-road with the DCT, I had the conventional suspension, which has a really nice feel to it. Really good tangible feel, you know exactly what it's doing. It's nice and plush where you want it to be, but not so bad when you're off-road. Good thing, particularly if you're the kind of roads that you take those bikes on. You're not going motocrossing on those things. They need to be nice and plush on the street and when you get onto the trail. When I switched over to the Adventure Sports, they had the electronic suspension. I didn't really like that feel. I didn't feel like it had that tangible quality that I really like. I knew it was there, I knew it was working, but it just didn't feel that connected, you know what I mean? You really had to trust the system. Like, I knew it knew what it was doing, but I just had to kind of understand the language a little bit more. On the road, both bikes are excellent. That Adventure Sports on the road is beautiful. So smooth, so comfortable. Suspension action, the electronic suspension action on the road is very, very good. All the things that aren't great about it off-road, when you throw all those electronics in, make for a very good road bike. That's one thing with these electronics, is you can basically, I won't say they're crash-proof, no bike's crash-proof, but you can make it pretty damn close to crash-proof. You can ram all those electronics right up, and you're going to have to try hard to throw the thing down the road. They are very intelligent motorcycles, I've got to say. Maybe too smart for their own good, but they are still very intelligent. If you're just going cruising on the street, for sure, go for it. They're going to be great. It's only going to be when you take them off-road that you're going to start to see the limits of their individual systems. Honda hasn't really done a great job, I don't think, in terms of the dash. Purely because there's so much information in those dashes, and they've tried to almost cram too much into only a couple of different menus, if you know what I mean, whereas they could make everything expanded and individual menus. I mean, like, you've got to have a look at these things to really understand what I mean, but there's a lot going on in there, and I feel like it's a bit too much of an information overload kind of a system. The build quality on the Africa Twins is unquestionable. They are very, very well constructed motorcycles. They're strong, they're big, these aren't real beginner's bikes. They are designed for riders that have a bit of experience, because they are very tall. We weighed our bike, the one with the base model with the DCT, we weighed it at 528 pounds with a tank full of fuel, and I think we got about 44 miles to the gallon, which would, I think, equate to about 220 or so miles worth of riding. I mean, I was looking for a gas pump up at about 190 miles. just to make sure we're all good. But look, they are very, very good bikes. They're very smart. They've got all the bells and whistles now. They're certainly not getting left behind in the tech race. However, I feel like they have lost a little bit of that charm, that simplistic charm that the original ones had, for example. So if I were buying it, if I were throwing down on an Africa Twin, I'd be going the base model with the manual gearbox, just to make it, and with their manual suspension, because I like to go off-road, and that's why those bikes are good. But one thing I will say is both these bikes, with all the stuff that's going on with them now, this has really highlighted the need for Honda to build a mid-size adventure bike. They have got to build a bike now that the Africa Twin is, look, it's 1100, it's a CRF1100L, so it's an 1100cc. They have to have a 600 to 800cc twin cylinder bike to go against those boys in blue at Yamaha and KTM. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments in the comment section below, and your questions. I'll do my very best to get back to you as soon as I can. Until next time guys, thanks again. See you later.